Did you know that in North Korea, even the simple act of applying lipstick can be considered an act of rebellion? Or that watching a foreign film could lead a mother to report her own child? That's right. While the world views the country as a mysterious and isolated place, the reality behind its borders goes far beyond what we imagine. The government's control reaches impressive levels, interfering even in how people relate to each other or live in their own homes. But what's most shocking are the curiosities that reveal the weight of this control in daily life. From bizarre rules about marriage to a fashion police patrolling the streets, every detail of North Koreans' lives is monitored to keep the population in total submission. In this video, we will uncover the most bizarre rules and the most surprising curiosities about North Korea. While the regime tries to control every aspect of its citizens' lives, we are left to ask, what is it really like to live under such a strict system? Is there any space for freedom in a place where even the color of your lipstick can be a reason for repression? Get ready to discover the secrets of one of the most closed and enigmatic countries in the world. The first curiosity will surprise you. Divorce in North Korea practically does not exist. In a country where social control is extreme, marriage is treated as an almost sacred obligation, and breaking this union is seen as an affront to cultural norms and the government. For many North Koreans, especially women, divorce is more than a taboo. It is a practical impossibility. Those who attempt to separate face social, legal, and even political barriers. Society's judgment is cruel. Divorce is often associated with moral failures or lack of loyalty, concepts that the regime avoids tolerating as they are believed to weaken the foundations of society. This means that unhappy or even abusive marriages often persist, as seeking a divorce can result in consequences such as workplace discrimination or social marginalization. For women, the situation is even more complicated. They rarely have the autonomy to initiate a separation. Moreover, the government offers no support to victims of domestic violence, further reinforcing economic and social dependence within the marriage. The next curiosity will intrigue you. In North Korea, women cannot wear shorts, even on the hottest days of the year. This rule is part of the strict dress codes imposed by the government, which seeks to control even personal choices related to appearance. While men do not face this type of restriction, women must follow a dress code that prioritizes more traditional and conservative clothing. For the authorities, wearing shorts is considered inappropriate and contrary to the values promoted by the regime. If someone is caught violating this rule, consequences may include temporary detentions and the requirement to perform a self-criticism, a process in which the person must publicly acknowledge their mistake and demonstrate regret. This practice serves as a way to reinforce discipline and social conformity. The next curiosity will surprise you. In North Korea, even hairstyles are controlled by the government. That's right, the regime has an official list of about 15 approved hairstyles, and any variation outside these standards can lead to serious problems. These approved hairstyles vary depending on marital status. Married women, for example, must wear shorter and more discreet cuts, while single women are allowed to wear slightly longer styles. But creativity? Forget it. No colored hair, bold cuts, or styles that are seen as modern or Western. Any attempt to innovate can be interpreted as an act of disobedience, even opposition to the regime, which in North Korea is a risk that no one is willing to take. Interestingly, beauty salons are supervised to ensure they strictly follow these rules. The next curiosity will leave you intrigued. In North Korea, women's use of bicycles still faces many restrictions, even after the end of a formal ban. For years, women were not allowed to ride bicycles, and although this rule has been relaxed, social norms and prejudices continue to make this practice uncommon in various regions of the country. Many people view cycling as incompatible with the traditional role of women, reinforcing a cultural pattern that limits female freedom. Additionally, there are reports that women using bicycles in public areas may face disapproving stares or even warnings from local authorities. In some more conservative regions, it is still seen as inappropriate behavior. Despite this, some attempt to challenge these barriers, using bicycles as a way to ease transportation amidst the country's economic difficulties. The next curiosity will surprise you. In North Korea, maintaining contact with South Korea is strictly prohibited by the authorities. Despite the two countries being neighbors, they are separated by very marked political and ideological differences. In practice, any attempt to communicate with the South is seen as something that could go against the rules set by the government. In areas near the border, some people manage to access Chinese mobile phones to communicate, but this is done with great caution as it can have serious consequences. This strict control exists because the government tries to limit the influence of external information on its citizens. For example, music, movies, or even conversations with relatives living in South Korea are completely blocked, and those who try to access such content can face penalties. The goal is to maintain control over information and preserve the country's official narrative. Still, some people, driven by longing for family members or the desire to know more about the world outside the country's borders, attempt to communicate. The next curiosity will surprise you. In North Korea, even family ties are put to the test. The regime encourages mothers to report their own children if they are caught engaging in acts considered illegal, such as watching foreign movies or listening to music from other countries. countries. This practice, as unusual as it may seem, is one of the ways used to reinforce control over the population. What makes this measure even more intriguing is the promise of forgiveness for those who are reported. This means that if a mother turns her child into the authorities, the child may face less severe consequences, creating a difficult dilemma within families. For many, this policy transforms the home into a space of uncertainty and constant surveillance, where even the most intimate relationships are affected. Now let's talk about a shocking reality in North Korea. Living together without being formally married is considered a serious crime, with severe punishments. For many couples, this rule turns something as simple as living together into a huge risk, especially for women, who face even more complicated consequences when formalizing a marriage. For women, this reality is even more challenging. Many prefer to maintain relationships outside of formal marriage, even with the risks, because once married, they lose rights and become more vulnerable to abuse and pressure, both within the home and from society. The country's patriarchal culture gives husbands disproportionate control over their wives' lives, while legal protection for women is almost non-existent. Additionally, the government uses this type of control to reinforce the idea that any aspect of personal life must be under direct supervision of the regime. Living outside the established standards is seen as a form of rebellion, something the system is always ready to punish. The next curiosity will surprise you. In North Korea, the government exerts strong influence even over the size of families. With the concern of maintaining a stable population, the regime encourages couples to have more children, offering benefits such as food, housing, and other material advantages. However, in practice, these initiatives do not always have the desired impact, as the country's economic reality makes it difficult for many families to support more children. Despite the promises of support, a large part of the population lives under challenging economic conditions, with limited access to basic resources. For many families, having more children means facing greater difficulty in providing the basic necessities, such as proper food and education. These factors end up making the government incentives unattractive. This policy of encouraging birth rates is directly linked to the regime's desire to strengthen the country. The government sees a growing struggle to meet these expectations. The next curiosity will intrigue you. In North Korea, military service for women is officially presented as voluntary, but in practice, most young women are required to enlist. This obligation is not clearly stated, but it ends up being a reality for many of them. The service period is long, usually extending for several years, and the conditions during this time can be quite challenging. The military routine is demanding, and in addition to daily tasks, women face difficulties related to the lack of basic resources. Personal hygiene items for this ban is not just about protecting the monuments, but also about maintaining strict control over social interactions. Meetings in public places can be seen as a threat. Next curiosity will surprise you. In North Korea, there is a kind of fashion police that strictly regulates citizens' clothing. Clothing items considered Western, such as short skirts, jeans, and even pants for women, are prohibited. These rules aim to eliminate any external influence that could be seen as contrary to the socialist values promoted by the regime. The enforcement of these norms is carried out by local authorities who patrol the streets and issue warnings or punishments to those not dressed according to the established standards. Women, in particular, face stricter restrictions, being encouraged to wear more traditional clothing that reflects the image of discipline and conformity expected by the government. On the other hand, some young people try discreetly to incorporate external trends into their clothing, such as small accessories or cuts, but this is done with great care to avoid trouble. The next curiosity will make you reflect. In North Korea, access to sanitary napkins is extremely limited. Basic feminine hygiene products are hard to find in stores, and when available, they are very expensive, making it almost impossible for most women to afford them. As a result, many have to resort to makeshift methods, such as reusing pieces of fabric, which are not only uncomfortable but can also pose health risks. This use of contraceptive methods is prohibited. These items are not legally available, and for those who wish to use them, the next curiosity will surprise you. North Korea has strict control over photography, especially when it comes to tourists. Approved photographs usually highlight grand monuments, clean squares, and organized events. Who accompany visitors at all times have the role of ensuring that only what reflects the official narrative is documented. It's an approach that, besides preserving internal propaganda, limits the external view of what really happens in the country's daily life. The next curiosity will intrigue you. In North Korea, the use of red lipstick is prohibited and carries a meaning far beyond aesthetics. The regime sees this color as a symbol of rebellion and capitalist influence, associating it with the Western culture they seek to avoid. Therefore, women who decide to wear red lipstick may face repression, including public reprimands, and even more severe punishments, depending on the context. More neutral or discreet colors are tolerated. The video ends here. Which of these secrets did you find most surprising? Please share your thoughts on the dark side of North Korea in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video appearing on your screen now. I'm sure you'll enjoy the content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.